I'm jumping the gun when I'm just on the run to show you some. Start line to the finish, never diminish. Do it indiscriminate, do it like it's in increments. When I'm just working my way up the ladder, just show you that I can shatter any glass ceiling that you put in the antimatter. When I'm speaking from here to the galaxy, to the top of the majesty. That's how I'm arising, when I'm just surprising. Yeah, I just go vertical. I just show you what's perpendicular to what you heard of before. When I'm just showing you the dough. I've got the motion, I got the potion, filled with the magic, here to bring all the static, to make it turn to the tragic. I turn the page to the next chapter. Speak with the rapture, let you know what I'm after. Shouting out to you, just bring the unique instead of the old bleak. When I speak, when I just bring it out to the peak, you just can't see, cause I'm on the sneak. Over the past 10 years, I have grown accustomed to reading comics digitally. Firstly, I want to talk about Hoopla, since it's so integral to the way I read comics. Hoopla is a digital media service available for iPhone and Android, and this is not a paid advertisement. It just happens to be the way I currently access my comics, and it's free. I gained access to Hoopla when I was living in LA, and I'm happy to say I'm still a member of the Los Angeles Public Library and the Los Angeles County Library. In my opinion, both of these combined are the greatest library system in the United States. As for comics I've been reading over the past year or so, earlier this year I finished Superman Unchained by Scott Snyder and Jim Lee, a fantastic Superman story. And I also read Detective Comics The New 52 Volume 1. And the reason I read that is because one of my reading goals, in fact my main reading goal, is to read the entire Scott Snyder Batman run, which begins with The New 52 when he became the main writer on the Batman series. Scott Snyder had written a couple Batman stories previously to this, but The New 52 marked the beginning of him at the helm of writing Batman stories. The New 52 was a DC Comics initiative during 2011, when the company began renumbering their comic series, all of them beginning with a #1 issue. And to get even more specific, Batman's story in The New 52 begins in Detective Comics The New 52 Volume 1, a story arc that begins with the Joker and goes on to introduce the villain Dollmaker. Detective Comics The New 52 Volume 1 also reintroduces Catwoman and the Penguin. After Detective Comics The New 52 Volume 1, the next story arc in the reading order for Batman in The New 52 is The Court of Owls. However, stuck in the middle of the Scott Snyder run is Batman Zero Year, which is an excellent retelling of the part of Batman's origin story when Bruce Wayne has returned to Gotham after being declared legally dead. It's about the same time of the Batman origin story that is set in Christopher Nolan's film Batman Begins. So in order to read the story as it happens chronologically, I've started in on Batman Zero Year. All the Scott Snyder stuff on Batman has been great so far. It's got some dark and violent material, so only read it if you have the tolerance for that. But if you do, it's highly recommended. And now, let's take a look at these digital comics in action. Okay, this is what Hoopla looks like on the iPad. And here's what I'm currently reading. As of right at this moment, I'm reading Batman Zero Year, and it's really dope. So here we are. And as far as the comic reader, the software, it's really great. It lets you zoom in as much as you want. And you can also go panel by panel. And that's the way most comic book readers are. But through your library system, you're able to borrow a certain amount of media per month. And I actually have 2 accounts on Hoopla, one through the Los Angeles Public Library and another through the LA County Library system. And between the 2, I'm able to check out over 20 items per month. I read titles from all publishers. Obviously, this here is Spider-Man, a Marvel comic. But my favorite comic stories are definitely in the DC universe. Here we have Justice League versus Suicide Squad. And between DC and Marvel, I prefer DC. I just feel that their universe is more grounded and relatable than the other publishers. And if I go here to pages, then you can browse through the content and see the story on kind of a high level. But as far as the selection goes, let's go over here and look at favorites. Now these are comics that I've bookmarked for borrowing over the long term. And as you can see, the selection here is very wide ranging. So you've got quite the selection, quite the variety. And there are definitely a lot of digital comics available on Hoopla. And as you can see, you've got your major publishers, Marvel and DC, but you also have Image Comics represented here, and you have other publishers as well, such as IDW. And the back catalog of titles goes back pretty far into the past. As you can see, here are some of the classic Silver Surfer titles. As far as the new comics, they don't hit Hoopla right away. It's kind of like the real library. They will appear here about 6 months or so after they've hit the newsstands. I actually don't have the time to read all of these. If you go to what I currently have checked out, for example, Batman Zero Year, that item right there is 300 pages. So the reason for that is because it's a collected volume. It covers the entire story arc. So that's kind of the way it shakes out. And I also use Hoopla on my desktop computer through the web browser. So now let's go to the desktop and see that version. Okay, so this is Hoopla on the desktop. And it's basically the same thing. And you can pick up reading right where you left off. And it's fun to read these comics on a large screen if you have a large monitor or TV. Alright, so we are headed out of town right now to Bloomington, Normal, Illinois, which is about an hour north of Springfield, where I live. And we're going to attend an event called RasOm's Presents, which is a night of music, different bands and artists will be performing. And this is at a venue called NightShop, which is a wonderful music venue. It's also a restaurant and lounge, and there's a video on my channel entitled My Vintage Toys, which features some of the performances of my own from NightShop. And the promoter for tonight's event is RasOm's, a good friend of mine. We've actually done a song together on the Dojo Dungeon label, which is based here in Normal. So we're gonna go check out RasOm's Presents. Alright, so we're headed back home, and I definitely had a good time at the show at NightShop, and it was good to see some of my friends up there. Shout outs to Grill Billions and the Dojo Dungeon family. And yes, it was good to get out and see some new music. So, hope you've had fun, and we'll see you next time on Offwhyte Cinematic.